All right, what's up? What's up? From all the fans of the toys we love and Migo like geeks and freaks. So it's been some time, and the reality is, let's put this on here, shall we? We shall. The reality has been that work has literally consumed almost every hour of every waking day for the last few months, which is a good thing because business has been really good. It's taken away from a lot of the hobbies and stuff. This is literally the first chance I've had to really sit down and go through, and I've gotten some things and not a ton of stuff because I really haven't had a lot of time to go shopping online or anything. But as we go in here, look who shows up. It's Brian, the Sancher, the Sancharoni, the Sancha Mahini, the Sancharuski, the Sanch Snapper Testicle Tickler himself, Brian Sanchez. What's up, Sanchez? So I do want to say something. I did get a package from Brian. I got some very nice stuff quite a while ago, and it's my fault that I did not get up here to do this stuff. Literally, if work hadn't killed me by now, or if something had come out, work probably would have. It's been absolutely, like I said, it's been beyond insane. But I figured I'd show you guys some stuff because I got some cool stuff in. I thought it'd be something you guys might want to see. All right, let me start with the simple stuff. Then I'm going to show you something I've had for some time, just as a comparison and so on. Sanchez. All right. So I don't know how much this stuff, I might have shown some of it before, but we're going to do it again anyway because I can. First of all, this came in, and I don't think I showed him. Even if I showed him, I didn't show him cleaned up. This is a Johnny Hero figure. This is basically back from the 60s. He was basically foam. See how crappy it's just foam over metal, and it just deteriorates over time with these giant plastic hands. And there's actually a peg on this hand so he could hold a football or so on. Now he did come. The outfit was pretty dirty. I washed the entire thing as is because I couldn't get the outfit off. I'm like, how do you get the damn outfit off? It came with a much nicer outfit. These things are really hard to find in good condition. The outfit was in great condition. He is missing a shoe. I've only got one, but the outfit is in really nice shape. But I didn't want to try and get it on because I was talking to Danny Gates about it, who has one as well. I said, how the fuck do you get this uniform off? And I think due to age, I wouldn't try it. Maybe back in the day when they were new and more flexible and so on. But I basically believe he's foam over wire, except for this plastic head. And I am terrified to try and take this off. So I just washed him as is, cleaned his face, a little soap and water, dish soap and water, and he came out quite nice. So I thought that was a nice little piece there. One of the other things, I got these in. I didn't get to show these. I was very excited to get these because, one, they came from Germany and they took forever. The guy that sold them was actually quite cool. This is the It's a Lone Ranger set. Let me see if I can get out of this package. Just want to be careful because I don't want this tape to get on anything. You got to be careful if people put tape on. I appreciate that they tape it closed, but always a little worried about it getting on something, anything by accident. So this is oh Christ, what was this? This is the smuggler. Yeah, I think this is this is the smuggler set or something. I forget. Anyway, it's a nice set. It's in German, and this was made by Lewis Marks. So the Lone Ranger set originally by Hubley or Gilbert Hubley back in the day, and then later acquired by Lewis Marks Toys. The neat thing is that they made a lot of the cool stuff. I've done a bunch of Lone Ranger stuff. Brian Sanchez has been absolutely super helpful in helping me identify some of the stuff and help me get through in some of these pieces. But Marks did a cool thing in the later on years when they acquired them. They did these carded sets, and they actually did some really cool sets. Like obviously this one's in German. It was available in English as well, and it was sold in Europe. This one actually came from Germany. You can tell it's got the Lewis Marks toys on the bottom. The Gilbert Hubley ones will have a different marking, and sometimes even a little different to the sense that, I mean, to the fact that I was talking to Sanchez. I bought the covered wagon set, and it has a picture of Danny Reed on it, and it says Hubley or Gilbert. And Sanchez said, you know, they got this other one. It's got the Lone Ranger on it instead of Danny Reed. And I'm like, really? So I started looking. I believe I did a video on this a little while ago, but I did wind up acquiring one. And he was right. The Lone Ranger box is actually the later one that Lewis Marks did, but apparently harder to find. As a matter of fact, I've only seen one or two, and I wouldn't have even noticed it if Brian hadn't brought it up to me because they all look the same to me. So basically, it's the same box, same set, but instead of Danny Reed on the front of the wagon, it's the Lone Ranger, which I thought was pretty cool. So I have them in the back. This set came in today, and these sets took forever. They took months to get it from Germany. I don't know, but this is a really neat set. This is in English. The Lone Ranger Rides Again, The Adventure of the Broken Horseshoe. What's really cool is these are actually four. These are four what look like individual horseshoes up here, in addition to some of the tools, the anvil, all kinds of neat stuff. And here there's a little sticker in French that basically, in the long run, says not made for kids under, not good for kids under 36 months, 3 years, and it meets all specifications for toy making in France. So again, very, very cool. I don't think that was Canadian because it says France. The front says it's French. I'm pretty sure that one came all the way from France. I thought these were great sets. They're a lot of fun. I don't know how many there are. I think somebody said there's like 13 or 15 of them. Sanchez may know. They're cool sets. They're really neat. If you want to be a super collector, you can get them in English. You can get them in German. I don't know if they did them in French or Italian. Maybe Brian Sanchez knows because they did come from Europe. But really, really cool sets. They all have a little tiny comic up in here, if you will, a little story about it and so on. But I didn't care it was in German. It's just a really great set. All right, let me move this off to the side. The Lone Ranger collection, it grows, and then I take a break from it. And then it grows because this shit gets expensive with that. It really does. Some of the stuff is just out of control. All right, let me show you something along the lines of old stuff before I go into some of the other stuff that I have. So I was going through some stuff, and I noticed, I forgot about this. I had this. So this is a big Jim Camping tent set. I mean, it's a nice set. It's not hard to get. Cost depends on who's selling it or whatever, and it's a nice set. It comes with the table, with the legs, and so on. And because it's Mattel, a lot of the parts were the same as what you'd find in a Barbie set, sometimes in a different color, and so on. It's got a good picture of Big Jim over here and Big Josh over there. And what I love about these sets is they were painted. Right, these were hand painted paintings that eventually made it to the boxes, and then they describe what came in the box and so on. Well, there were a lot of companies that decided they were going to take part. And this is not the only one that I'm going to show you that's a knockoff. This is Action Buddy Commando Camp set, and it's the same tent for the most part, same table and so on. This one, I think it comes with a tripod machine gun, which is kind of a ripoff from G.I. Joe, if you will, in addition to mostly Big Jim stuff, the sleeping bag and so on. But instead of using Big Jims, they basically got Fighting Yank from Mego on the outside. I mean, these companies didn't care about whose figures they use. They ripped them off left and right. I've shown you Empire Toys boxes that have everything from Excel, Western figures. Thank you, John Toyzilla Marshall, for pointing that out to me. There's the Sunshine Family, and they've even done paintings where the likeness looks like Lee Majors or the Bionic Man and so on. They just ripped off left and right, and they didn't really care. But this is a very similar set. If you were to put them side by side, the only difference is sometimes the color of the plastic. and probably the quality too. But there's also another one, Mick Drago, who's in our Toys We Love group, actually showed me one, and I think he owns it. It's in German. It's very similar. It's not Action Buddy. It's actually a different action figure, but it's in German and pretty much the same picture on the side. And again, you can see on the back what's going on. They did the same idea where they painted the front, or they took a picture of the front. Sorry, they didn't paint it. They took a picture of figures. And on the back, they laid out what you get with it, which was kind of neat. But I do like the painted sets better. I love the fact that these guys ripped off other people's toys to advertise their own products on their boxes. And I guess people didn't get sued for it back then. But I love the painted stuff. I think it's a lot better. And I think it's much, much cooler. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so this is something I picked up recently. And I'm going to blame Danny Gates for it and the guys in the chat group for bringing me to this sickness, because I've looked at this 100,000 times. Now, before I show you what it is, I'm going to tell you that when I was about 5 years old, we were from Philly. We went back to Philly to see my grandmother at that point, and my mom loved going to the Goodwill stores. Back in the day when Goodwill actually had good shit, right? So we go to the Goodwill store, and in this box on the floor were toys. And in this toy was a spaceship. And I'm like, this is really cool. This is a great spaceship. And it was 25 cents. I think maybe 50. No, I'm pretty sure it was 25 cents. Anyway, it was about 1974. And I said to my mom, can I have this? I love this. And she's like, no, it's broken. It's a used toy. You don't want that. Well, that broken ass toy, believe it or not, it never left my head all these years. We're talking 50 plus years later, that I still remember being in that store to this day like it was yesterday. Sometimes things happen in our lives where we have traumatic experiences that are bad and traumatic experiences that are good, and they stick in our brain. That was a bad one. So this was the actual toy. It was the Starhawk. It was not in a box, but it was this actual spaceship. This one, the box is a little bit rough. It's pretty cool. But if you take a quick look, this is from the Zeroids line, which was basically Ideal Toys, which is Ideal Toys. And you can see there's one of the Zeroids over here. Then we've got the Zem 21, and over there we have the Knight of Darkness. Now, these are Star Wars ripoffs, obviously. The Dark Knight, or the Knight of Darkness, excuse me, is done on a Captain Action body in black. It's got a Flash Gordon boots. It's got the Flash Gordon gun. I think they're a different color, but he's a Darth Vader ripoff. Then we had Zem 21, which is actually a C-3PO ripoff. He's kind of silver and green. He's not my favorite toy. I've had him before, and then I got rid of him, got rid of him. But the Zeroids were pretty cool. The neat thing about this robot is you can open the top, and inside you can put the batteries, and then he lights up and he blinks. He's not motorized or so on, but the ship itself is wickedly awesome. It's gonna be so much fun. I don't even know if I can take this thing out, but actually we probably won't, because it's very fragile. And so what happens on the front is you have this ship. There's a plate on the plastic tab on the bottom. You slide it across, and it closes the ship. What it does is it locks it up, and it winds up a little spool of spring in there, if you will. When you press the button, this opens up, the ramp comes down, and then the Zeroid kind of rolls itself out with the light on. It's a neat toy. I don't know how they lasted for kids, because to be honest with you, it's so fragile and it's such a pain in the ass to do. I don't think it was a really good toy. I think the idea behind it was great, but by today's standards, I don't know. Again, a great toy, but I don't know how it would have lasted, because it just looks like they would break over time. And it wasn't easy to do the mechanism, especially if you're a little kid, get your hands in there. But it is a neat toy. Fortunately, this one, I got to find room to put it. This one still came with the original instructions. I'm going to probably iron these out a little bit, which is a hot iron over some cloth, and then kind of heat it up a little bit. Maybe it'll help. But it shows you how it actually worked. So it shows you, you take this left side, right side, and you bring it across, and how the whole thing works and so on. It also tells you where to put the stickers and so on. Some of the stickers, the glue's so old, they literally came off. Now, they came off whole. Actually, this is just a color print I did on a piece of paper for shits and giggles, but they came off whole. So I was able to apply some of them back just using some paper glue, if you will, to be able to put them on there. And what I'll be doing is making some copies of those. I know Danny Gates has one of these, and I told him I'll make some copies, and he can laser cut them if he wants. All right. Well, while I was looking at that, I saw this on eBay, and I said, wow, isn't this cool? I was searching for that. And this came up, and I didn't realize it was such a small comic. I thought it was a regular size comic, but it's a small comic. and it's the ideal star team. Looks like Marvel put it together, I guess. 'Cause yeah, it's got Marvel Comics. It's got the ideal star team on here, but it's you can see how small it is. It's a small comic. I like to open it up and see what's inside, to be honest with you. And it wasn't very expensive. I'm assuming this was just some kind of promo comic or something. Maybe they put it with the toy. I don't know. I'd have to look. But what I love about this, which is pretty neat, is you've got the Knight of Darkness. He's riding some kind of bug or something. You've got the robot from the Starhawk, which is a spaceship. You've got Zem 21 here, again, which is C3PO ripoff. You've got the Starship up there. On the back, you have an advertisement for Electroman of Zog. And if you don't have these are a lot of fun. They're gigantic figures, gigantic figures. He's got a sensor in his head. He's got an electric eye and he can make alarm sounds and stuff. It's quite annoying. But finding Zog in working condition it's tough. It's not easy. But you basically got this whole little story about how it goes. Here's Electro Man in there and so on. It's more of an advertisement, I think, for Ideal Toys than anything. But they sure as hell make these guys on the back look like they're super powerful. I mean, look at the Knight of Darkness. The guy's like all beefed up and so on. You got Zem 21 and whatever. But it is a neat little comic. It's pretty cool. And I thought that would go well and display with the toy itself. If I can find some room, because I've said, not to sound like a complaining all the time, but there's really no room and I keep buying. So I might have to start selling some stuff off to get some room in here. All right. The last thing that I'm going to show you guys today, yeah, because I have more stuff. I'm not going to do it all today. These kind of like capture me. So if you're a kid in the 80s, 70s, 80s, I guess it was about the 80s. They used to have a show, a cartoon on it was Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm going to say this. I've never been someone who played Dungeons and Dragons like a lot of my friends did. They play and play and play these big campaigns. And I know how the game works, I understand and so on, but I was a big fan of the artwork and the manuals. And I still have the manuals and the sets. And I've shown this before, some of the lead miniatures I had since I was a kid, since I was 12 years old. And I've kept them over time. And they just fascinate me, the imagination behind them, the artwork in the books, especially the painted covers and so on. They had a really good documentary. I think it was on Amazon Prime. I forget what it was called, but it was basically the whole thing behind before TSR acquired all the Dungeons and Dragons stuff and how the guys came together. And they were just kind of like messing around and doing artwork and making some books. And it wasn't as big as it was, and all of a sudden it just exploded. And then the artwork that went to some of those original books was going to be thrown away. Some was thrown away. And someone they found like behind these cabinets when they were moving them out of this old building with holes in the floor that they had to walk over. And they wound up selling an auction and so on. But these figures were made by Hasbro. Now, Hasbro made great shit back in the day. G.I. Joe, the original G.I. Joe, the 12-inch was one of my favorite toys ever. And I thought G.I. Joe was a great, great action figure. The diversity, the accessories, the vehicles. I mean, you just could, plus there's such a large scale for a 12-inch figure. They're just phenomenal, right? And Hasbro's made some stuff, and some of it's been okay, some of it's been crappy. I've seen complaints about things that are good or bad. But when they came up with these, I said, okay, let me take a look. Now, I watched the cartoon several times, not a ton. Maybe, before I bought these, maybe about 10 times most, maybe 5. And I remember the theme where they're going into the roller coaster, and then all of a sudden they wind up in this other world and so on. But these came out a few years ago, and I have them all except for one. The one I don't have right now is the Thief, which is Sheila. She goes for a ridiculous amount of money, and I don't know why. I think the second series, which comprised of Presto, Eric, and Sheila, which was the Wizard, the Paladin, and the Thief, there were second series, and they're more expensive for whatever reason. But the one thing I love about these figures, and I'll show you the boxes first. One thing I love about them is the accessories that they came with and so on, and the fact that they're very true to what the cartoons look like. They did a really good job sculpting them. Really, really nice. The other thing that's neat is each one of these figures, if you play Dungeons and Dragons or any role-playing game, they came with a die, a different one. Each character came with a different die. She had a 20-sided, he had a 4-sided, and they're real regular dice you could use for role-playing game, which I thought was cool. I got this one at half price. Don't ask me how I got really lucky. He's the Paladin. He's got the 10-sided die. This one's actually a 2-pack. It's interesting. This is Bobby and Uni the unicorn. I thought the artwork was, again, very good. I'll go over what their accessories were. Then you have Hank, who's the ranger, if you will. I don't have Sheila, but then there was this set, which I had to get this. So this is Dungeon Master and Venger. So Venger and Dungeon Master, excuse me. So they did a good job. They scaled these figures size-wise to basically what they were in the cartoon. This one actually came with 2 different dies, one for each. But in addition to what came here when I bought it, I didn't know. I opened it up, and I found this inside. And when you open this up, it's literally, one side's got all the Dungeons and Dragons, logo, if you will. But the other one, it's the backdrop, which I thought was really cool, where they go into the roller coaster, if you will, at the theme park. And it's thick. This is not some shitty ass crap like I think they put together for some monster figures a little while ago that I saw. But what's really cool is it's a nice background to it. So Dungeon Master is just basically this little dude. His arms move and so on. I mean, there's no real. The soft goods are just soft rubber, if you will. The likenesses are fantastic. This is Venger, and you can see just from just the scale, they really did justice to it, the cartoon. So they did a great job sculpting. This is kind of a soft plastic. His hands come out, and you can change his hands. They're hinged, if you will, so you can rotate, but make them so that they're doing spells, if you will, or whatever the hell he's shooting out of his hands. Otherwise, he has this hand of, this and a fist. The wings come off, and I'm actually having a kind of a hard time getting the wings to stay in. There's actually a hexagonal hole, and then these go in, and I'm not too sure that was the best design, but it's doing its job. This is Bobby and Uni, or the unicorn. He was fine for a while, but because his hands are soft plastic, he doesn't really hold his club anymore. But again, they're pretty posable. They join at the elbows and so on, but they're very tight. And I'm not going to lie, after one company that you move their joints and they'd snap, I got a little bit concerned about actually starting to try and move these joints. I'm not going to even take a risk because I don't want to break them. But they do pose in all kinds of positions, if you will. This is actually Eric, who's the paladin. Now, what's the accessory with him? You can take off this magic burst, so he just has his regular shield, and then it just kind of snaps back on there, if you will. So I guess it looks like it's doing some magic or whatever the hell they're doing there. He's typically very expensive. And again, I don't know why. This is actually the character that Donnie Most, or Ralph Melf, the actor who played Ralph Melf, if you will, does his voice. The Ranger, I believe, I think that's Tommy Ames, and I think he was on Eight Is Enough, and I think the one that does Billy the little kid, I think that's, I don't know, I might be wrong. I thought it was Adam Rich or something was also there, but this is Hank. So he comes with a regular bow, if you will, and then he comes with his magic bow for shooting his arrows, if you will, there. This is, I can't remember her name. Oh, this is Diana. So she comes with a staff. Then she comes with another one that makes it look like she's actually spinning it, if you will. And this is actually probably one of the most versatile characters, right? So this is Presto, right? So again, they're very posable and so on. The neat thing about that is he has just this hair. He also has another set of hair. You snap it on, and it has a peg on it. And on that peg, bear with me a second. On that peg, you can snap it onto his head so it stays, and it'll stay on. However, at the same time, he can also hold his hat like this. You can take this little magic spell, if you will, push it into the same peg that holds his hair, if I can see the damn thing. All right, maybe I can't see it. My God, what the hell? Oh, there it is. Okay. So you can push it in so he can hold it in his hand, and he looks like he's sending a spell. But of all of this, what's really crazy is you take this end here, you plug it into the hat like a spell. You put the hat in his hand, which usually he can hold it. I don't know if I can do this live. It's kind of a pain in the ass. And then you take the other hand, you attach it to his wrist, So these are kind of soft, rubbery plastic, so they don't grip on as tight as they want. But the idea is that this dude can, it looks like he's casting a spell from his hand out of his hat or whatever the hell he's doing, which I thought was pretty cool. So in addition to that, each of the figures come with your regular, as I said, they come with your Dungeons and Dragons dice, if you will. Wow, that one stopped. So there's even a, what is this one? Is this a 20 side as well? I guess so. This is a bigger version of one, but there's all kinds of cool dice here, which I thought was neat. All right. Whew. That was a lot of shit. What's he say? $2,257. That's what she said. 25 cents, she said. All right. So that's what some of the stuff that I've gotten. There's some other things I got in. Some of the other miscellaneous things I got is I finally acquired the 4th package of Oreos with the Marvel design on them. The 4th package, the first 3 are heroes. The last one is villains, or basically Doctor Doom. And then somebody in the group, I think it was Scott Fiore, came up with a package. It was a box with 2 packs in it. And that was a whole nother one that they have. And they're really, really cool. No, I will not be eating the Oreos out of them. Will they sit there forever? Probably, because I think Oreos have a shelf life of like 10,000 years as long as you keep them in a room, climate controlled room. But there's all kinds of really cool stuff going on out there. There's a lot of neat stuff. I'm still fascinated by when I look around in this basement and other people's collections, like how much of this old stuff survived. I mean, when you really think about it, stuff survived. That Ideal Starhawk in the box. It's the first thing that happened when the kid took it out. Parents threw the box away. It's too much room. They didn't want to. So for somebody to save it is a really, really cool thing. But again, lots and lots and lots of stuff. So anyway, just want to kind of throw some stuff out there. It's been a long time since I did a video. Thought I'd throw that out. Hope you guys have had a really, really good first quarter of the year, if you will. We had, 2 feet of snow a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. Then a week later, after the 2 feet of snow in 24 hours, we had 73 degrees. And the next day was 83 degrees. And then it dropped to 30 something and it snowed. So it's unbelievable here. Hopefully you guys are having much better weather. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to like or subscribe, you can, and then you'll see when other videos come up on their own. You won't have to be, and you'll be notified automatically. On that, Brian Sanchez, the man, the Sancharoni, the Sancha Mahini, the Sancharuski. Thank you for everything, for all you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't joined our group on Facebook, The Toys We Love, you should come check it out. Everybody's welcome. You can talk about anything. It doesn't just have to be old toys or new toys. It could be comics or movies, whatever you like. All right. Hope you guys are great. Be good.